Okay, so first of all, hello and welcome, Joseph. I would like to thank you for accepting to be my guest and to be interviewed by me. So basically, I always interview people from different background, mostly creative people, different industry, because the whole point right here is just, to raise self-awareness and how to develop a success mindset and all of that. So based on your story and who you are, so Joseph is a pro wrestler. Uh,
Yeah,
and he's gonna tell us everything. Obviously there is quite some goodies, got some good things, specifically if you like wrestling industry, you're gonna probably enjoy it. But he's gonna tell us everything. So first of all, let's get started. Joseph, welcome, and tell us everything about you. Who are you? Introduce yourself.
okay. Thank you very much for allowing me to do this interview. Yeah, as you're right, I'm a professional wrestler. I've been doing it since I was 18 years old, um, and that's now 16 years of my professional life. And yeah, I just decided I want to get into the tumultuous roller coaster world of professional wrestling. It's a lot of people, some people may not know what professional wrestling is, but the great thing about it is it takes so many aspects from so many things. So it's athletics, it's sports, it's showmanship, it's entertainment, there's stuntman, there's pageantry, there's circus elements, there's all sorts. So it's like a real cocktail of like different things, different attributes that you need. And yeah, I've performed all over the world, the United States, all over Europe, up and down my own country in England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and yeah, it's been one heck of a journey so far, and it's something I've still got a massive passion for.
Okay, don't be shy. Tell us your biggest achievement. So you
Of
entered
course, yeah.
this
Well,
famous
yeah,
wrestling industry. Tell us.
absolutely, absolutely. So my biggest starting off when I was a kid, I watched WWF at the time, which is now WWE, and my goal and my dream was always to work for that company. And when I was 29, I finally got the opportunity to work for WWE, and I was an employee there for 5 years. And I got to achieve a dream of mine, which, and I'm someone who comes from a very small village in England, so to be able to be from there, but I've spoken to teenage Joseph to late 20s, early 30s, Joseph, to that journey. It's sometimes where I think that at the times as a professionals and people who do this stuff, when you actually take a sit back and go, wow, I actually did that or I've accomplished that, it's mental. So yeah, definitely getting the opportunity to work for WWE is something I'm very proud of.
Okay, fantastic. You should be proud of.
Thank
I
you.
think the selection is pretty tough, right? Like, tell us about the selection actually. How did they select the characters, the wrestlers in their industry?
Well, that's really interesting because it can happen in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it can be people like myself who just have worked on the circuit, like a band or a stand-up comedy, doing shows, doing events for years and years and years. So my story was very much starting when I was younger and then gaining experience, traveling, being on the road, and doing bigger shows, smaller shows, all sorts of shows with the idea of hopefully getting to WWE. And then sometimes it can be people who are just athletes in other sports, whether it's football, basketball, rugby, whatever, just people who are conditioned to be great athletes who WWE may be interested in. But yeah, my story was very much learning the fundamentals, building up a character, building up a persona, getting on their radar. And it's kind of like I basically trained, met the right people, and then got offered to be a part of what they call a tryout. Got to go to in England the O2 in London. Did
So just to understand the tryout,
yes.
um, you are invited to it or you just go by yourself? Like how?
No, I got invited. Me at that time, obviously in England it's different, but WWE would perform big shows in England twice a year, and sometimes they'd invite different men and women to come and do a tryout with them. Luckily, I got offered the opportunity to do a tryout. Got the opportunity to meet a gentleman called William Regal. So anyone who knows professional wrestling, he's a big name. Got on his radar, and then eventually what ended up happening was WWE created the first ever WWE UK tournament, and I was one of the men selected for that. And that was, I got the honor of saying, like, there was only 16 people who got the chance to do that for the first time, and I was one of them. And yeah, it was a massive, massive achievement and something I'll never forget. So it just, like you say, just working day in, day out, working all the time in the gym, on shows, bettering myself, bettering my ability as a performer. And then when I had the opportunity to meet these people I looked up to, just making the right impression. And I obviously must have made some kind of impression because I got invited to be a part of the WWE.
Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning of your story. You said you were 15 years old, right?
No, I was 18. I was 18.
Okay, so 18. How do you get into wrestling? Like, how did you get there? Like,
that's a really good question. So yeah, I always say to people, like, especially in England, because obviously, wrestling's a huge thing in America, and it's getting more of a prevalence in Europe. But England, it's always been popular, but for a long time, the sort of scope was very much the American side of it. So as a kid, I was just a fan of watching it on television, like a lot of people my age at the time. I had no earthly idea how to become a professional wrestler. It wasn't anything I'd even considered, because the person I was back then is a lot different to the person I am now. And it literally was me traveling. I passed my driving test. I was kind of a bit of a lost teenager at the time, didn't really know where I was going, what I was doing. And I ended up just going to a local event in England and seeing some of the people perform. And I just thought to myself, I think I can give this a go. And I found out, like anything, if you want to be a plumber, an electrician, a rugby player, a footballer, you've got to learn your basics and go to school. And I found out about a training school. And I went to this local show. And then a week later, I went to, it's in Nottingham, which is about half an hour away from where I was living at the time, and started training and just never looked back, really. But even when I started then, no one thought, oh, we could get to WWE or anything like that. It was just a case of, I just wanted to have the opportunity to have one match and just perform in front of a paying audience. I didn't think that I'd be talking to yourself, talking about a 16-year career, right now.
You went to an event and you realized that you like it, but I mean, this is a physical,
yes,
kind of like I personally, I know I won't do that. Okay. So that means before that, you kind of have something like, I don't know, you are very physically active, or you like to punch people, or, or, before that, like that was the kind of teenager that you were.
It's really odd because, yeah, I have to ask myself sometimes why I do this, because it is, I think that's the thing, people with what we do with wrestling, a lot of the time people associate a lot of people are like, oh, that fake stuff, or that, pantomime stuff. But it is a very, there's serious injuries, serious things can happen. Imagine, a movie where they do stunts and they film it again and again and again. Yeah. The difference with what we do is I'm performing in front of a live crowd, and I have one chance to do that stunt. And if it goes right, I carry on. If it goes wrong, I carry on. And it's an extremely physical thing. We're trying to do things in a way that is safe, but you can't fall on the floor again and again and again, which is basically what you do without getting bumps, bruises. And, as I said to you, I've been doing this for 16 years, and some mornings I wake up and feel like I'm a lot older than I am, which, isn't always the best feeling. But yeah, you've got to have a bit of I don't know what it is that makes, but there's something about, being in front of an audience, performing in front of a crowd, the adrenaline that is just addictive. And like, I'll be doing an event tomorrow. I just spoke to you the other day. I was in Denmark, I was in Italy. I'd traveled to do these things, and there's something about performing and doing this that is just such a rush, and I can't explain to you. Like you asked me, I've got to be an adrenaline junkie and stuff, or like outside of the ring, I'm a different person, but when I'm in the ring, I've become somebody else. And the real me, I don't like getting hurt. I don't want to get beat up. The last thing I want is to get punched in the face. So
Well, I
I
guess
don't know what it.
that's the same for every performing work anyway. You're a performer. That's what you do.
Absolutely.
Except that you don't do it like you do it on the camera, but you don't do it like actors do, creating a situation, just doing on the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything happened there. So that's the thing. So there is actually my questions related to being a performer, creating that character. Yeah, how do you create that character actually? How did you found that's create your wrestling character?
Yeah, I think like any performer, I think the best way to find that character is to take parts of your personality and then turn the dial up completely. So as I mentioned, myself and the person I am inside the ring are different, but there are definite elements of me that just turned up. So all these aspects of my personality, my confidence, my cockiness, my all those kind of things are just turned up completely. And I think that's the same. Like if you take someone like Dwayne the Rock Johnson, when who was a professional wrestler, who's now the biggest actor in the world.
Yeah,
that's him dialed up to 100. And I think that's the way. I don't think. I mean, obviously, the best actors in the world can perform and be anybody that they're not. But I think to do what I do, you need to take an element of yourself and then just project it louder than you ever have before. I don't think for me, I could just be somebody I'm completely not. It has to be a little elements of me or things that I've experienced in my life, whether good, bad, and taken from those situations. So that's how I find it anyway. So
okay, so what was that piece of you exactly that you used for that?
I think all people, I think as people, not just performers, I think we all have elements of anxiety and self-confidence and things like that. But I can, I have confidence, but I project when I'm in the ring, I'm the most confident person. I don't have any worries. I leave all my problems, all the things that are in real life, I leave them at the door and I don't take them with me. And I think that's the most important thing.
That's what you used as a performer. That confidence, you take it and you developed it in 10 times, and absolutely. That's it. The show must go on.
Absolutely, it has to, because when people are paying to see you, they're not paying to see the person that's just sitting here right now. They want to see the persona and the character and leave their problems at the door and see what I'm going to do in the ring or the other people on the show, and I'm very aware of that.
That's great. And what is the most difficult in terms of being a wrestler? What's the most difficult?
I think to be honest, one of the most challenging things is just the mental side of it, because we have a saying in wrestling where we say like professional wrestler knows is nothing, and there's times when when you're trying to build your name up and trying to get more bookings and more appearances, it can be hard. It can be, the money wasn't exactly like great to begin with. I was working other jobs to support what I was doing. There's a lot of reasons to quit what I do, if that makes sense. And a lot of people I started with stopped doing it. And you meet a lot of people and they stop doing it. But that's probably the biggest hurdle, is just staying in the game, keeping that belief that there is more to come, and I think a lot of the times in life, we give up on things because it can be too hard. And there's 99 reasons to quit something, and usually there's maybe only 1 or 2 reasons to stick with it. It's trying to focus on the reasons why you started doing this. And there was definitely moments where I was like, why am I doing this? I'm beat up, I'm bruised, I'm beaten up, I'm not making much money. Everyone's telling me this is a waste of time. Whereas, okay, let me prove them wrong. So I think that was probably one of the more challenging aspects of it. But I think I got to a certain point in my life and my career where I just knew that this is what I wanted to do, and I kind of just followed through with it.
So basically what you're saying, actually, that success is the best response, I would say, to all your
Definitely.
struggles and all, even people maybe not supporting you. It's only with success that, you know, you reach,
Absolutely.
you fulfilled, let's say, all the struggles that you've been through.
Absolutely. I mean, just my own personal perspective, I get on really well with my father. He's a great guy, but I understand like when I was a younger, he's thinking, why is my son doing this? This might not be the best thing. But then for me to then turn around with a contract and go, I'm a full-time contract for WWE, that was validation. So to be able to say to him, look, this is why I've done this. This is where I've gotten, and him to be like, oh, wow, like I didn't know that. He didn't know that was possible. So to be able that, like I say, that was validation. To say, I'm working for the biggest company in what I do.
So did you start? Tell us a little bit. Tell us the truth.
Yeah.
How long it takes? First of all, how long it takes for you to be able to make some money from wrestling, from the moment you start to that point? How long it takes, more or less?
Oh God, I mean, that's the thing. Obviously it's different for everybody. It can be, I mean, in my personal experience, it took, I'd say 7-8 years before I started to see, good, being able to live, like being able to just dedicate myself just to wrestling. And it varies. I mean, some people come into it's the same, isn't it? It could be like, you could be in a band and playing every gig and playing every week, and then all of a sudden a band forms and all of a sudden they get signed. There is no definite time scale, but that a lot of the time with this is, I tell people, it doesn't just happen overnight a lot of the time. And if it does, I don't think you greatly appreciate it, because half the reward is the struggle, half the reward is the journey, because you look back and go, yeah, I've earned that. And I'm not saying people who get something quicker don't earn it, but just in my personal perspective, I wouldn't have been ready to go to the places I went to when I was younger. I needed that time to, I needed that time, personally and professionally.
And between when you started making money to actually enter WWE, how long it takes?
I'd say for me, I was quite lucky. The time frame between that, I probably signed for WWE a year or two after
you started.
Yeah.
Your money. Okay. Does WWE is your best gig, or you get more money from some other gigs?
WWE so far has been my best gig, but I have confidence in, now that I'm back outside of that I can do better. So that's the thing. It was good, but I also got to a point where, okay, I've experienced that, and now it's time to, what's life going to throw at me next? So like, I've got every confidence that I can do better than just being with WWE.
Of course. So so let's now I know that you're not anymore working with WWE, right?
That's correct.
So what do you do now?
So I guess the best way to determine it would be freelance or independent. So when I was with WWE, which was a great experience, but there was a lot of things that I couldn't do because of the contract that I had. So for example, talking to you right now, I wouldn't have been able to do. Flying to Europe, flying across the world to do shows for other promotions, as we call them, I wouldn't have been able to do. So now I'm back representing myself and exploring other avenues. So I'm traveling again, doing other events, and basically what I was doing before I signed for WWE, and also just looking at other possibilities in life, like what we're doing.
So are you saying that it's better right now? Like, you prefer being totally freelance?
I'm happy. Yeah, I am. I mean, I don't regret anything of being where I was, but I'm excited again, and I'm enjoying not having to think, oh, I can't do this, or I'd get emails for opportunities that I'd be like, oh, I can't do that, and I'd wanted to pursue them, but I just was unable to. So yeah, I'm excited about the fact that I'm the one making the decisions.
Okay, and what do you have any plans? Like, what are your future plans?
Well, I want to see exactly where I can continue to go with my career inside the ring. I also teach people this industry as well. And that's something I want to make that a more full-time scenario. I want to have my own set. Yeah, which is
your own wrestling school.
Yeah, which is one of my passions. It's just trying to, at the moment, that's something that's in the works that I'm trying to do. And I've also had the opportunity to explore sort of the acting world on a very small basis so far, and do a few auditions and have some contacts with stuff like that. And I'm also, excuse me, also doing what we're doing. I have a passion for talking and communication, and I think I've learned a lot in my life as a performer, and I've also had the experience of being a young man and developing into an adult going through it. And I think I've learned a lot from my experiences, from the people I've met, from the situations I've been in. So I feel like I can help people from the experiences I've had. And I'm also at a stage in my life where I'm more than happy to share the good and the bad and the things that I've experienced. Whereas perhaps when I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, I wouldn't have been ready to talk about not just all the pluses and all the positives, but sometimes the things that I struggled with and things like that. So I'm at a much better place to be able to do these things now, I think.
Wow, fantastic. So can we talk about your personal life?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
So I know you're about to get married, right?
Yes, very excited about that.
I mean, during your career, you were already together, or?
No, that's the thing. I'd had some relationships before, but my current partner I met, I'm trying to think of how long ago it is now, over nearly 3.5 years ago. And she came into my life at the perfect moment, because my life had been career. Every career came first all the time. And then when my partner now came into my life, I was, like anything, I wasn't expecting it, but it's one of those cliche things where when you know, and she's added to my life. She knew nothing about really the career I was involved in, which is a real plus, but she's been really supportive. And I've learned another aspect of my life, like doing the things that I didn't really do a lot of when I was working all the time. And we've built a great life together, and we're very close, obviously, because we're getting married. And I'm really excited to make that step with her. So I'm just sort of only about 3 months away now.
Nice. So that means will you say that when you were entirely career, that was complicated to have a relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I was with someone who was very supportive, and she was great. But I'll be totally honest, like I was probably, I don't want to say selfish, but I was very honest. It was like, if events, because like I said, my goal was to get to WWE or become a full-time professional wrestler. My thing was, if something comes up that I think can get me there, I'm going to take it. So if it means missing a wedding, a birthday, an event, I'm going to be there. I never told anybody any differently, but it was very much like, I'm laser focused on where I want to be. And I wasn't, so it was like, at that time, I'm not ready to start a family, because I'm not in a situation where I can, so I was very honest with where I was. I was very lucky, like my family in that aspect were supportive, and so was my previous partner. But it was very much like, that is the goal, and I'm focused in on that. And I'm not saying it's not impossible to have a relationship. I'm in a relationship now, and we make it work. But it's not a conventional life, in the sense that a lot of people work 9 to 5, especially in this country. It wasn't a case of, okay, she finishes at 5 o'clock, I might be on the road, or I might be going here, or I might be going there. So we kind of just weren't always having those normal relationship things. Also, I follow a very specific diet, so we wouldn't just eat in the same place. You know, I had to plan everything out. You know, like so I wouldn't just be the kind of guy be like, yeah, let's order a pizza tonight. You know, I'd be the guy sitting there eating chicken and rice. You know, boring the life out of them.
Okay, so quickly tell us a little bit about actually what is the healthy journey of a professional wrestler. Like what are the guidelines that you have to? What is your healthy? Let's say, what is your guideline?
Well, for me, I mean, once again, it varies for different people. But for me, I think there was a relation. You know, it's a bit different for me now, but food for me, food can be very. I love food, and it's one of the biggest. I've deprived myself of food for quite a long time, where I just had a very, like, once again, laser focused mind of this is good food, this is bad food. I need to eat good food. You know, the gym is like my second home. I'm very, you know, you have to be very, and obviously when you're on the road a lot, it could be very easy to just eat fast food, whereas prepping food, making sure you're having food at the right times, all those kind of things.
So what would it be like in the breakfast? Do you have breakfast?
I have breakfast, yeah.
Okay, so what would be your typical breakfast
as
a professional wrestler?
My typical breakfast at the moment is oats, blueberries, and protein powder. That is my exciting diet in the morning. With
and then what is the? I mean, what? And then what is the diet? Do you have lunch or do you have something in between?
Yeah. So for me, it's very basic. It's like chicken or a meat and a carb, like a sweet potato, a rice, or vegetable and salads, and it's pretty much oats in the morning, chicken and rice, chicken and rice, chicken and rice. It's pretty much that. So I try
3 meals.
I have like 3 meals, and then I'll have like a protein shake after I've worked out, and then maybe like a banana and snack or something like that.
So that means like you have breakfast, 3 meals, a little snacks, and something before bed, let's say. So yeah. 6 days. So you're pretty much following the, you know, the like having something more or less every 2 hours.
And sort of, yeah. I mean, I would try and make it more entertaining and more interesting for you, Stephanie, but it's such a dull way of eating. But I try and I'm pretty regimented with it, but sometimes it can be difficult for timings. But yeah, I try and have like 3 small meals, a breakfast, and then snack in between. But yeah, it's all counting calories, counting protein, all the exciting things in life.
That was interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're pretty much getting close to the end. I just want to ask 2 more questions about, first of all, what is your advice to others, you know, the youngers or anybody else who wants to follow that path, that direction, maybe get interested in having a big career in wrestling industry? What is your best advice?
My best advice would be, like anything, you need to learn the absolute fundamentals, because as we talked about before, it is a dangerous sport, it is a dangerous industry. So you need to know how to protect yourself. And to do that, you need to learn the skills and what I said are the fundamentals and the basics of what we do. And you really need repetition to drive that into you. A lot of the time in what I do, a lot of people want to just do all the flashy things and all the exciting things, which are important, but you need your absolute basics and fundamentals. So to do that, you need to make sure you go and learn from someone who has a good background and has a pedigree in this. So someone who has actually achieved something and done something in his career can give you the best advice and teach you. So that's number one. And the thing I always say to people is humility is really important. Remember who you were when you walked in. Remember why you want to do this. Because like I said to you, you're not necessarily going to make loads of money to begin with. You're not necessarily going to be a massive star tomorrow. But maybe one day you will be, but you need to still treat people the way you want it to be treated, and try and, you know, have respect for what you do in life. And I think that's a major important thing. I try and treat people, whether they've been doing this for 1 day, 1 year, 20 years, I try and treat people well, because it's the most important thing. Because in what I do, you need trust with everybody you're around. And that's paramount. So those are my two biggest pieces
I
of advice.
actually have another question, but that I think is very important, specifically for people to hear it from somebody who's been through that experience. And because we have a lot of, today there is a lot of problems related to mental health, and mainly how to deal with the public eye, social media and stuff like this. I personally found this very important, that people needs to hear it and understand that there is no way anyway to run away from that, because this is the generation we live in now. Social media is everywhere. Everybody can just give their opinion just like that. It's free. Absolutely. Now, because they can. So coming from you, how somebody who is actually under the public eye can deal with that? Because a lot of people struggle with that. The biggest celebrities struggle with that. Okay, we got really strong cases of suicide, or of they just give up. So what is what can you tell us about it? So what is your opinion about it, and how can people go through that?
I think, you raise a really good point, and it's like you say, there is no escaping it. Social media has become the way, and it is an important tool that you need. But I think you also have to remember that, and from my personal experience, what I have to remember is that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it isn't the real world. It's just a projection of things. And for me, when I'm on social media, I'm myself, but I'm also an extension of Joseph Connors on there. So I'm very careful. I think you would need to be very careful on what you post, because as we've seen as well, what you may feel like in 2022, in 2030, you'll be 8 years older, and you might be in your 30s or your 40s or 20s or what have you, and you may feel a lot different to how you felt then. So I think, and as you're saying, what's posted online lives on forever. So you have to be very smart and very careful of what you're putting out there. You also have to, in life, we get, for every good comment, sometimes you're going to get 2 negative ones, and it's important to just be able to go, I'm not in control of what other people say, but I am in control of my phone. I am in control of my laptop. I can turn that off. I can turn that away. I can mute that person. I can leave that be, because their problem with you is their problem. It's not your problem. And I think that's the most important thing, is to remember that it isn't real. And a lot of the things that are said online are things that people would never say to you, because you have the fact that you can hide behind a different picture, or a laptop screen, or a keyboard, or what have you. So I think it's just trying to keep your feet on the floor and go, this isn't real. This is just a separate thing. And I have the ability to turn that off if I need to. And that would be my biggest advice. I think it's also just not getting, somebody is trying to create a problem with you, is just not getting involved. I don't think we do it in real life, so let's try not to do it on these social media platforms. And that's what I do. I've had plenty of lovely interactions. I've had horrible interactions. I just use that mute button and I go about my day, because it isn't going to do me any benefit to start arguing or having a big discussion with someone who wants to spew negativity, and that's their problem, and that's not mine.
So the most important is just to not take it personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at least not too much. And yes, like you said, I agree with you. Like you said, you might not be in control of certain things, but there are a few things that you are in control, which is yourself. You go in control of what you do, what to do, or what not to do, and what to say or not to say. So yeah, you can put away your phone. You can just stay focused on your person, and who you are, and the most important is also to know who you are, because I think if you are able to let people get through you, it means you're missing something.
Absolutely.
So it's important to do the work on yourself, know who you are, what your worth is, and not letting anybody else decide for you, or choose or say whatever they want to say and take it for you,
100%.
So yeah, thank you for sharing this. And last questions, what is your definition of success?
Oh, my definition of success. I think it's changed over time, but I feel like my definition of success is to be able to be, like we've talked about some of the achievements I've had. And at times when I was living those achievements, I wasn't really aware of what was happening at the time. I was so focused on what was coming up. Whereas now I feel like there is nothing wrong with just being like, yeah, I'm looking back at the things and going, yes, I've achieved that. That's awesome. And also like being the person, there's all different types of success, not just what's in your bank account, what's on your CV, all these kind of things, but being the person you are, because I'm happy in the sense that the things I've achieved, I know deep down that I'm still kept true to who I was and who I am. I haven't let anything change me, whether it's been success, failure. I've stayed true to who I am. And that's something I can look in the mirror and talk to you and be very proud of. So I think that's my definition of success. I've never tried to step on anyone. I've always tried to help people, never tried to hinder people. And I think that's success in itself. And I'm very proud of the fact that I got to places that I got to by just being me. I didn't just try and like do things for the sake of doing them, or try and, kiss people's rear ends to try and like just to further myself. I did things because I believed it was the right thing in my heart to do. And people always say, you have to be, you don't get any, there's a saying where people are, oh, nice people finish last. I don't agree with that. I think bad people, or people who do things to get ahead, say that to make themselves feel better. I think you can be who you are and just believe. If you have that belief, I truly think you can get anywhere you want to get to. And that's, I think that's the key.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you very much, Joseph, for everything, for today, for this interview, ladies and gentlemen. Joseph Connors, for you, pro wrestler, former WWE performer. People can reach out to you, find you on social media, right? Tell us your social media.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter, Joseph Connors, all one word, ERS instead of ORS. And I'm also on Instagram, Joseph_Connors. So, yeah, please give me a follow, say hello. And
that's it. All right. Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.